think we're live, Aaron. Just checking here. Just one sec. Let's check.
Absolutely.
This is so exciting. Okay, let's just get some feedback. Are we live?
I think we are live.
Are we?
It looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Awesome.
All right. Just one second. Let me make sure. Sometimes there's a slight. That's what I didn't want. There we go. There. Right. Zoom's got a little glitch in it. And one sec. Let's get this here. One more. Right. Okay, Aaron.
Yes, Bracha.
What a delight to have you here. I'm so
good to be here.
Super duper excited, as is everybody here online with us.
I'm excited to be here.
As a consciousness and vibration expert, what would be your 3 top tips right now that you would suggest that we can do practically, because you're the practical man, you give us practical tools to keep our vibration as high as possible?
Yes, that is a great question, Bracha. So the first one that I think is one of the most important things we all must either master or start to becoming aware of is simply awareness. So it's 90% of all transformation, I believe, happens through awareness of the stories, the negative beliefs we may have, the identities we may be attached to, the patterns we may be subconsciously addicted to. Once we become aware of them, that is the point of where we can then choose something new. Because prior to that, we're in the autopilot mind. We're continuing to live in the same patterns, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, do the same things, and get the same results. So to keep our vibration high without awareness, we stay in the sleep pattern. We stay in the old paradigm or the old stories that we may be living inside. So one of the things I highly recommend is everybody learns or does meditation. Meditates, observes your thoughts for 5 or 10 minutes a day. I know back in 2012 when I learned it, it completely changed my life. All I would do was stare at a candle flame, observe my thoughts as they come in and observe their thoughts as they leave, not try to control them. And the more I did that, the more powerful, the more power and the more I let go of the old paradigms and the past connection and all of that was kind of keeping me in a box. So awareness, I'd say, is the first one. The second one, I would say, has to do with letting go. The key to raising your vibration and your level of consciousness is realizing, first off, that you don't have to raise it because it's already high. It's your natural state of being to be in a high vibrational state of consciousness. It's who you actually are. It's like I've heard Abraham Hicks say this before, and I'm sure you've heard this saying before, but it's like a bob on the ocean. If you have a bob on the ocean, you push down the bob comes down here. The key, though, is you don't have to raise the bob back up. You just have to let go of the pressure and the resistance, and it will naturally raise back up. Well, in the same ways, when I look at my own life and things that have made the biggest change and transformation, it's come from letting go of something. So you become aware of it, and then you make the choice to let go. It could be letting go of a past relationship, could be letting go of a negative belief. It could be letting go of some type of attachment. When you make the choice to let go, and it's really just about becoming aware of it and then making the choice, you will naturally begin to raise up. And yeah, in 2012, for me, it was a massive time of letting go. It was letting go of substances. It was letting go of patterns. It was letting go of the past. And as I let go of all of that, everything changed. And the biggest one, though, Bracha, is letting go of meaning, the past meaning, because everything in our life has no built-in meaning other than the meaning we give it. So when I realized that I had so much meaning from my past that was like weighing me down, and when I became aware of that meaning and I let that go, that's when things began to change. I stopped attracting the same things over and over again. So letting go is the next one. And the last one is wiring in. So it's awareness, letting go, and then wiring in. And wiring in is an action or something you do that is wiring in a new version of yourself. So for me, back in 2017, I made the choice in January of 2017 to make daily videos on YouTube every single day, no matter what. I was working a 9-to-5 job selling women's shoes, was not passionate about it, felt trapped, had the whole corporate politics thing that I had to do. And I did that for like 8 years. And then I made the choice to go daily on YouTube. And it was almost like this download that I got, Bracha. I was in my, I was like living at my dad's house. I went into the bathroom and I just had this feeling, this download that if you make a video every single day for a year, your life will completely transform in a year from now. So just commit to those daily videos. And I did that. And no matter what, every day I would film a video, edit a video, schedule a video to go out while I was working 40 hours a week at that job. But within 2 or 3 weeks, I had videos start to get more views, more traction. And within 6 months, I put my 2 weeks in because I became a new version of myself through the action. So awareness, letting go, and wiring in a new you, giving yourself permission to be the new you, and also letting go of the doubts and the fears that come up, because there was a lot of doubt and fear that I had when I started making videos. I cared about what people thought of me. I didn't want to be considered crazy. There wasn't a lot of law of attraction videos back then, so it was kind of more taboo. There was just aspects where I could see that I had to really push through the not feeling credible, all of these things I had to push through. And when I gave myself permission to be the authentic me, that's when everything began to change. So awareness, letting go, and letting in, but letting in is the action you take as a new identity, as a new version of you, of the most embodied version of you.
Wow. Woo. That's fantastic. And I love the way you share and teach at the same time. Yeah, I was learning as with you as you were explaining so beautifully. Yeah, it was like, right, how can you not get it in the way that you explained it? Just
thank you, Bracha.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love that. Yeah, because that's tangible for people. So, and so can I ask you, do you still do your meditation practice? Has it changed? Has it evolved over the years?
Yeah, I'd say it definitely has evolved. I used to have a rule that every morning when I wake up for 10 to 20 minutes, I meditate and then stare at that candle flame. And it's always in my closet. It's like, it's just a comfort zone for me to do it in my closet, in my house. And I would do that right when I woke up and then 20 minutes before I go to bed. And I used to do that every single day, no matter what, for like 8 to 10, like for years and years and years. But recently I've become a little bit less rigid because I've realized that it was becoming such a thing I had to do that I was almost giving my power away to it. Whereas when you see someone like, like Eckhart Tolle, for example, and you ask him what his meditation practice is, he makes life a meditation. So he's always in meditation. So I've recently made it a rule that where I don't have to meditate every single time for my vibration to stay high. And it was to the point to where I remember telling people this, like if somebody knocked on my door and I was asleep or I hadn't meditated yet, I wouldn't answer it because I had so much boundaries around my meditation where I remember I have a friend of mine that we stayed in Sedona, and he startled me in the morning, just joking around. But I was so irritated with that because it got in the way of my meditation. But I realized that rigidity for me was really implying that like I had no power unless I meditated. So since then, it's definitely evolved. There is a new something I'd share with you that maybe will help some of the people that watch you, that has been a game changer for me. Growing up, I felt for so many years of my life, because my dad is such a nice guy. He's like a traditional nice guy, kind of the people pleaser mentality. I developed similar traits and similar qualities where it was like I was being really nice, even though sometimes it wasn't authentic. I had really a big trouble setting boundaries with people. I felt very empathic, like I could feel other people's energies and stuff. So I would then have to make other people, I felt like I had to make other people feel happy and other people not feel tension. And I would try to be what everyone else wanted me to be so that I could feel safe. And one of the things I had to do, and one of the things that changed everything for me, was when I learned this thing called the frame technique. The frame technique is a meditation where what you do, I learned it from my shadow work integration coach. And it's a very simple technique, but when I started doing this technique, it changed everything. I started being more inside my body. I started setting boundaries was easier. I started being able to see what was other people's stuff versus my stuff, instead of me thinking it was my thing to fix everything or to like mitigate everything. I think a lot of us may have grown up in crazy childhood dynamics and stuff. So we were like the peacemakers of our family and stuff. And empaths in general, just they can feel other people's energy because earlier in life they had to feel safe. You know, they had to tune themselves to parents that were controlling or to like chaotic family situations. So for me, this frame technique was something my shadow work integration coach taught me, and it's very simple. What you do is you stare, you get a candle with the candle flame on it. And what you do is on the in-breath, you feel the connection inside of your body. You put the awareness in your hands and your feet. And what you do is you feel the separation between you and the candle flame. So whereas normally in the spiritual community, it's all about connection. We're all connected. We're all one consciousness, which is true. The challenge, though, is we have to also remember that we're also individuals having an experience inside of our bodies as well. So to be embodied, when on the in-breath, you're focusing on inside of your body and feeling the separation between you and the candle, you start to feel safe in your own body. And then what happens is on the out-breath, you then breathe in, feel the separation. And then on the out-breath, you release that focus and you feel the connection between everything. And on the in-breath, you really focus intently on the candle flame and you feel the separation. And on the out-breath, you focus on everything around the candle flame, and then you release and you feel the connection between you and the wall, you and the microphone, you and the beautiful artwork that you have behind you. As you put more sensation on those and the spaciousness around you, you start to feel more safe in your body. But then you also it becomes very clear with you in the future of like setting boundaries and how much easier that was. I used to have so much trouble setting boundaries with friends and people. I'd feel guilty, you know, and it was like if they were disappointed, that was my disappointment. But when I learned this frame technique, my whole entire life began to change, because I started to then ask myself, like, what do I want to do? It became clear to me that a lot of the childhood stuff that I experienced growing up, some of that was my mom's or my dad's stuff, not mine. I didn't have to internalize it and think that because they divorced when I was 5, it meant that I wasn't worthy or it was something to do with me, because as kids, we internalize everything. You know, we don't understand that maybe our parents aren't most compatible with each other. We think that happened because I did something wrong. Maybe if I could be a little bit different and tune myself to other people and get their approval and validation, then everything would be okay. But then we're basing our sense of safety on the outside instead of on the internal. And the frame technique is very simple. I have a meditation on it that it's called the frame technique, but it's changed my life more than anything else. And it's so simple to do. And you'll notice that when you do it as well, your energy becomes more magnetic. I don't know what it is, but I remember I learned this when I was living in Sedona, and I would do that, where I would do this meditation even when I was walking around, whether it's at Whole Foods or on these hikes and stuff. And it just gravitates people to you because you're so embodied, you're so present. You know, so it's an embodiment exercise, but more so than that, it's another aspect of meditation that I wanted to share because it's changed my life more than anything. And it's one of the most simple things you can do. It's realizing the connection between subject and object, as like, you know, when it's the emphasis too much on other people, which is what happens with empaths, then there's not enough self. There's not enough feeling safe in their own body. So it's always about everyone else and it's making everyone else happy. And on the other side of that, it's why empaths, I think, a lot of times attract narcissists. Narcissists, my dad is the nice guy, people pleaser empath, attracted my ex-stepmom, who was a total narcissist, who still is a total narcissist, and controlling, manipulative. And the reason they attracted each other is because they were the opposite polarity. He's all about others. She's all about self. He felt safe being around someone that was he could like be a part of her frame. And that was something I had to learn, because after my dad divorced my ex-stepmom when I was 15, all this freedom we had, but then I go out into the world and I kept attracting people that were similar to my ex-stepmom. I attracted an ex-girlfriend that was very jealous, that I felt there was a part of me that felt safe in her controlling container and jealousy. I was in there for 5 years, a couple of years too long, but just like my dad was in a relationship too long, I broke up with her got transferred to a better shoe department at Nordstrom's and women's shoes. And the manager of that shoe department was literally a spitting image and clone of my ex-stepmom. Manipulative, controlling, you had to suck up. It was like similar dynamics. And it wasn't until I became aware of this energy and I made the choice. And I honestly, what it was is I had to forgive my ex-stepmom. I had to forgive her because the old meaning I was given to her was that I had to fight for my freedom. It shouldn't have happened to me. I was in victim mode. And therefore I kept attracting people into my life that resonated with that charge of energy. So the key to this is realizing that it is both other and self. It's a fill up your own cup before you can really add value to other people. And that's what I'm learning to do more and more, just as time goes on, is really encourage people to do that. But the frame technique was a game changer. So that's also a meditation practice that I recommend people do.
Wow. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's extremely valuable. Yeah. Because I think there is a tendency in, shall we say, the woo-woo community, we're all one. And this is the old age of Pisces, which is this oneness, and we blend into one another, and you've got to please everybody and all this. But we're in the Aquarius age. That's what we're coming into, where we've got to have this separation, and to get the, I have a body that's my skin. And as much as I can feel you, I have to fill myself up first. And if I'm depleted, I can't help anybody. I can't do anything. Yes.
Wow. So Bracha, so I love how you say that. And I guess my interpretation of the Aquarian age was as well that it obviously it is somewhat about community and connection, but even within the community and the connection, it's about the individuality. Is that what you're saying? So that was actually an old paradigm, the oneness. I thought that maybe that was an Aquarian idea, but it's actually the old idea.
It's old, and we're moving into communities, like-minded, but each person must bring their individual spark. And if you're bringing anything that's copying someone else, plagiarizing someone else, trying to be someone else, which is a pain in the ass anyway. Who wants to be somebody else? Yeah, you want to be you. So you bring that, and then it's like all these sparks go off together like a massive firework. So yeah.
That's beautiful. And it really resonates with me right now. Personally, in my own life, just to get vulnerable, I've been making videos on YouTube for, for like 5 years now. And there's YouTube has brought me so much comfort and stability for so long because I've identified and I have the identity of being a YouTuber. But what I'm realizing is now I want to move into a new era where I'm doing live events. I'm working more with groups of people in person as well as virtual, but I'm getting there's a tendency to where I have a YouTube coach, like I was telling you earlier, who's helping me with YouTube and stuff. But sometimes I get these titles, I get these things I'm supposed to do. And I'm just I just want to I feel like I'm in a box and I'm just trying to keep this grind, this momentum going. And there's a part of me that just wants to authentically share what the hell I want to talk about and not care whether it gets views or not because once I've created this YouTube channel, there's a pressure to keep creating content that gets views. And it's I'm realizing that I have to just own it and just not care about that anymore, but not try to be anyone else. I've always looked up to Tony Robbins, but it's I don't want to be him. I want to be myself. You know what I mean? So that's, I really like what you're saying.
Yes. And you don't want to be a slave to your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? It's got to serve you. And I must say, I greatly admire that in such a short amount of time, you've got more than 1.3 million subscribers. That's phenomenal what you've created there. How are you able to keep that consistency and discipline?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. So I'm going to be vulnerable again. Okay. So in the beginning, there was always been an intention to help people and to add value. But I would be lying to you if I did not say that in the beginning, especially, I think there was a wounded part of myself that felt like I needed people's approval, validation, and to feel significant. So when I first started on YouTube, there was a part of me that wanted to add value to people, but there was another part of me that really wanted people's validation and approval. And it was I became, in a way, addicted to the dopamine of getting views and having people like my videos. And that for a while drove me. There was always an aspect of I want to help raise the collective consciousness. Like there's a spiritual component of it, but there was also an egoic thing that there was something I wanted out of that, even though it's embarrassing to admit. And what I had to eventually do is, for a long time, it was that thing right there. There was that gold play button, that the million subscriber plaque. For so long, I visualized it. I wanted to attract it. But really once the million subscribers came and I got the plaque, I just realized I was almost ashamed of myself, just how hard I tried for so long for something that was so, I guess, not just, it felt egoic, and it felt egoically driven. It was like there was a part of me that wanted that validation, approval of other people. And what I'm learning, and this is months ago, so I've become aware of this, and that's when I started detaching from really caring what other people think. So I've learned a lot. So on one hand, there was an intention to add value to other people. On the other hand, there was this payoff that my ego was getting from trying to be significant and to get views and to get people to like me, that it drove me. But now what I've come to a level to where I realize that that's not what really sustains me and what really makes me happy. There's like a new paradigm where I do want to still add value to people, but I want to just be myself in the most authentic way that I can be. And the key though for that was making it a part of the identity. That's what really changed it for me. So in 2017, when I was living at my dad's house, I felt like a failure in many ways. I was like 27 years old, living at my dad's house, and I was working my 9-to-5 job, and I wanted to make videos, but I didn't know how. And I had all these ideas, I wanted to manifest meeting Tony Robbins and like all these people from the movie The Secret. I thought they were going to meet me and put me on, and I had all these grand visions, but nothing happened. And it wasn't until I realized that I had to be that version of me, and I connected to the version of Aaron that was already a full-time YouTuber, and I visualized that, I imagined that, and the message I got from that version of me and that download was make a video a day no matter what. That's who you are. And that's when I started doing that. And then after so many months of doing that, 2 or 3 months, videos started to pop. But what really happened is it started to change my identity. I started to see myself as a YouTuber. And one of the things I'd like to share with people that makes the biggest change from my perspective is give yourself permission to be the version of you that is the most bold, authentic, and apologetic, because you don't need to have the YouTube channel before you can give yourself permission to make YouTube videos. You don't have to, sometimes people ask me that on YouTube, like, I don't have a specific coaching degree. I shared my experience as I was making YouTube videos and what I was learning. The very beginning law of attraction videos were me working my 9-to-5 job where I was working commission. And I would share when I went in with a certain intention, it was all commission. So I could see every single day how the law of attraction worked. If I went in and I was very serious and I wanted to hit my goal and I wanted to make $5,000 worth of shoes that day so that I made $500 of commission, I could see how that energy worked out. I could see that if it was all about me, it didn't do that well. But I could see if I went in and I had fun and I focused on emotionally and energetically connecting with the people that wanted to buy shoes, that it would do better. If I had the intention of adding value to other people, it would do better. If I was having fun and joking around, I would do better. And I would then share that on YouTube videos. So you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have certain degrees. We hold ourselves back sometimes with these limiting beliefs, these stories. We have to be a certain level of credibility. But really, the way reality works is be, do, have. We normally think you must first have something, then you can give yourself permission to do something, and then you can finally be it. But the way reality really works is the other way around. You must first be it. Then you will naturally, as a reflection, do what that version of you does, and then you will have what that version of you has. So if you're an artist, don't think you need to first have the art gallery studio, then you are an artist. Think in the action. You're doing it because it's who you are. You're creating the art because it's who you prefer to be. You are the artist, not once you do X, Y, Z, and once you have X, Y, Z. And in the same way, when I started making daily videos on YouTube, in my mind, I was a YouTuber, despite the fact that I had 200 subscribers. My sisters used to make fun of me because they're like, "Oh, you're going to go make videos for your 12 subscribers on YouTube?" And it was like, I just held that frame. Yes, that's who I am. Don't let other people talk you out of your own vision. you know?
Fantastic. What an inspiration you are, Aaron. Really. It's so exciting just to hear you speak. Yeah. Everything that you say has got such vibrancy to it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Really, you spark, you send these sparks out that really ignites people, really. How did you deal with your fears?
Well, for a long time, the way I dealt with my fears is I just didn't go into them. And that's why I felt stuck for so long. So back in 2016, 2017, I knew for 2 or 3 years I wanted to be on YouTube. I had an ex-girlfriend of mine in 2015 buying me a camera for Christmas. And I had this camera, and then I had all these excuses. I was like, oh, well, I don't know how to edit. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And I had all these, and what I was really afraid of is I was afraid of what other people thought of me. I was afraid of what my family would think about me. I was afraid of, there was a lot of things I was afraid of. And for a long time, I just stayed working my comfortable 9-to-5 job. And it was always a one-day thing. But then what I realized is that there's no perfect time for any of this. There's never going to be a perfect time. And if you go back on my YouTube channel, it's the very first video I ever did. In the middle of that video, it says insert title here. Because on iMovie, I didn't know how to remove that title. So to this day, it says insert title here, but I did it anyways because I wasn't going to let those excuses hold me back any longer. So one of the things I've learned about fear is that what fear is, and I learned this from Bashar. I know you and I have talked about Bashar before, but fear is a guiding mechanism that is showing us that there's some belief or some type of thing that's out of alignment with who we really are. Fear is a safety mechanism that is telling you that this is unknown to your current identity. This is unknown to your current level of self. So fear is actually doing a great service. If you're on a cliff and there's a big, 150-foot drop, the fear is very beneficial. It's keeping you safe. The challenge is that sometimes we think there's a cliff when there actually isn't a cliff. And it's realizing that the fear is there as an ego's preservation mechanism to keep us where we are, because where we are is safe and comfortable. But once I was aware that the 9-to-5 job I was working, despite that it was very safe, it wasn't what I really wanted to experience. What I started to do is I started to switch it. I started to see that my future at that 9-to-5 job was working a job I wasn't passionate about. I worked with people that were 20, 30 years older than me, selling women's shoes. And I looked at them, not in a judgmental way, because some people may be passionate about selling shoes, and there's nothing wrong with selling shoes. It just wasn't my passion. And when I looked at 1 or 2 of them, I could see they did not like selling women's shoes. They were not happy about it, but yet they were still doing it because it's safe and comfortable. So I then started to realize that that's my future if I don't take action. I started to associate pain with the familiar safety. And as I started to do that, that motivated me to figure it out. So that's what really changed it for me, was developing a new relationship with fear, with realizing that fear is actually your friend in many ways, because it's showing you where your comfort zone is for your identity, your old identity. But what you want to do is you want to make choices from the new identity, knowing that what you'll end up doing is you'll end up breaking out of the old box. That's what broke me out of my old box of selling women's shoes. For 8 years, I sold women's shoes. 8 years. And it's not the end of the world, because I made, 60 grand a year. It wasn't a bad job. I wore a suit to work. I wasn't working in the trenches or anything, but I didn't enjoy it. But the reason it happened for so long was because it was so comfortable and safe. And I had to push through the fear and relate to it in a new way. And this is something also I learned from Bashar. Fear is excitement being filtered through a negative belief system. Ooh. So fear, and also I found when I'm coaching people, I find that a lot of times when people feel fear and they're thinking about their fear, they're holding their breath. Fear is excitement without the breath. So when you're breathing, when you're moving into the fear, you will feel very alive. And in high school, I did something called forensics debate, where I would get a certain topic, and it would be a debate tournament that I would go to, and I'd go against other kids, and there'd be judges and stuff like that. And the most nerve-wracking time is when you're waiting outside the classroom to go into the debate. You're waiting with your opponent, and you're waiting for the judge to come, and you've got people, And that's the nerve-wracking time. But when you go in there, it was like I would get like into the flow. But in the same way, I was actually excited if I really look at it. But it was excitement. But the fear is either me not breathing, or it's me filtering it through a negative belief system and thinking there's something wrong when there's not, So it's developing a new relationship with fear, and it's making the choice and redefining it as excitement, knowing that you're wiring in a new identity, a new version of self. And when you start doing that, you'll expand your comfort zone. Your fears will then change. I don't fear putting out a YouTube video anymore because I put out 2,000, It's something that I've got more comfortable with time, because anything you do repetitiously, you become familiar with. And that's all fear is showing you, that you're not yet familiar with that thing.
Wow. Beautifully put. Yeah, that's super clear. Really. Wow. Woohoo! Yeah. Because so many, I'm guessing that, there's going to be a lot of people losing their jobs. Corporations are going to be dissolving over these next years. And if ever there's a time now, somebody like you is such an inspiration, because you walked through those fears, you understood those fears, and you still released a video every day. That takes a huge amount of self-discipline.
Yeah.
To be able to do that so consistently. And of course, once something becomes too familiar, after a while, then you have to break out into something new again and move to the unfamiliar, which I think is maybe what you're...
Exactly. You said it so well, Bracha. It's exactly what's happening. It's become so familiar that I'm like, how can I do this in a new way? And, the new way is like, I'm doing the podcast with you. Like right now we're doing this, and then we're doing one for my channel. And we're going to film the rest of it in a little bit after this, but it's so much fun to be with you and to talk. And I feel excited. And because I feel excited, I think that that's going to translate to the people that are watching. Absolutely. And that's a new way of doing it. And then me doing live events is even another level of excitement. But sitting in front of a camera, like all day long, like I've been doing for so long, I don't know, it needs to spice it up, but it's so true. We become too familiar. It's also a challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what I would say to some of our viewers here. Aaron, thank you. If something's got too familiar, it's like a relationship. You've got to keep spicing it up, haven't you? You've got to find new things, new experiences, otherwise, that's where you go to sleep with one another.
Right.
So everything needs something that is, as you would say, fear with the breathing becomes the excitement.
Turns to excitement. Yes.
Wow. No, this is really exciting. So as we move now into this new earth, which is, I think, what, you're certainly a leader on this new earth.
Oh, thank you.
What is, you are for sure. And I know you love to help people raise their frequency. You want to bring more consciousness, awareness. That's what you started off with. When I asked you, what's your first tip? You said awareness, because without awareness, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
So what would you now say is the next step for us on planet Earth? What are the next steps that you intuitively feeling? Hey, okay. Always the unexpected. That's what's great about being live, isn't it? When you're live, you just can't edit it out. And people say they enjoy it.
You said as well, something you mentioned on mine, the thing that you and I were doing earlier, is that Uranus, or whatever's happening this year, there's a big surprise coming.
Yes,
right?
There are surprises coming. And for what I'm seeing astrologically, and I'm wondering how you would see this from your perspective, is that we're going to have to learn to live with a lot more uncertainty than we've ever had to live with before.
Yeah.
The changes are going to happen more quickly.
Yep.
Just as we've seen, who could have imagined 2 years ago that you'd be wandering around with masks and jabs and all the things that have happened, where we're going to see packs of cards changing more quickly. So what would be your recommendations now as to how to live in this uncertain yet possibly exciting new earth?
I think that this new earth that is coming, and it's energy that's already here that we get to embody now, because that's how we're going to bring it here, is by us all embodying it. I think the key is really to step into a new version of self that is the most passionate version of you. I think the thing that makes our vibration the highest is when we're doing what we love, when we are doing and being that love as well. So it could be little things as well. Sometimes people get so hung up about their purpose. Like, what is my one overarching purpose of what I meant to do in my life? And the truth is, it changes. Like, it might not be one thing, like I thought, YouTube videos, but now I'm like, no, it's expressing ideas and helping people, like whatever form that takes. But even just in the moment, being and choosing to do what excites you puts you in the highest frequency. So the thing that a lot of people, I think, are coming into the awareness of their power of is they're starting to question their old reality. They're starting to question their old stories. They're starting to question their own beliefs, their old labels. And that's one of the main steps here, is to question it and then make a new choice about who you are, and realize that the old is familiar. And when you look at the old earth, it's very obvious to see that things are crumbling right now. Things are falling apart because it's built on an old energy dynamic system that no longer serves. But what this is about is it's about acknowledging that, but not getting lost in that. Now, it's almost like I've heard Bashar talk about this as well before. Bashar's a channel. Whoever that doesn't know, I've seen a couple people ask in the comments. It's like Abraham Hicks, similar, but he's been a big teacher for me in my life in many ways. And it's almost like you're looking through glass walls at stuff that's happening in the world, to where you can, for a period of time, what's happening is there's a shifting that's going on, a shifting of parallel realities. We live within an infinite number of parallel realities. And every second, we are shifting to a different reality. What we think of as movement is the shifting through different realities. There's an infinite number of them. This is what quantum physics is showing us. Now, what we're doing, though, collectively, is we are all shifting. There's a mass consciousness that we're all connected with, and we're shifting to a more and more optimal new earth timeline. And that's also when you and I talked earlier about Dolores Cannon. We've both been fans of the Dolores Cannon books, which is 17 or 19 books from people in a deep level of hypnosis, called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, where their subconscious minds would go through. And thousands of people from all over the world that have been through this process have said something similar through their subconscious mind in this trance state. They said, we came here to be a part of this shift. We came here to be a part of this shift in consciousness and to be a part of this great change in energy. And many of us, I believe, are part of this shift. We came here to be a part of this shift in consciousness. And many of us are some of the first to wake up, though. Like, there's a lot of the people that are still asleep on the planet. Now, what's happening is we are collectively shifting to a more optimal timeline. And the thing is for a period of time, we can see through these glass walls at the old stuff. We can look and see people walking around that are all in fear and they're covering themselves up and telling everyone to do this and that and telling you got to get this thing done. And that's a reality that does exist. But the thing is you can look at it, you can observe it, but you don't have to feed it. And if you fight it, by the way, you're still feeding it. That's something that's hard to realize sometimes. Is for a while, when in 2020, when all that stuff started to happen, I got very vocal for a while where I was talking about what I really thought. But I realized that I was becoming so kind of angry at the media and stuff like that. What was also happening is I was feeding the old timeline because I was fighting it. And the key, though, is it's like there's a movie. There's this guy. His name's Peacemaker in this movie called what's it called? The Suicide Squad. It's like a movie, but it's a funny thing because he goes around and he's like, it's funny because he's fighting people and he's like killing people because he demands peace. And it's a joke. It's like a dark comedy. You know what I mean? But it's funny. He's like, I'll kill every person I need to in order for me to get peace. But it's a funny metaphor, though, because in a way, sometimes what we do is we fight the old paradigm. We fight and all this stuff. By fighting it, we're actually feeding it. So you can look, you can observe, but then put your energy where you want to put it. And what I choose to put my energy in is the things that actually fill me up, the things that actually put me into a higher state of consciousness. And that's what I think we can all learn to do, is to observe what's happening, to not be of it to a state to where we get lost in it. You know, I see some people, they start going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, which I went down for a while, but you go down to that so far, you start having some pretty messed up dreams. You know, you'll start finding that the world looks like a very dark place, you know? So what I'd recommend is become aware of it, but you don't have to necessarily get lost in it, and then put your energy where it actually suits you, where it's actually beneficial. And that means for many people, I think, is like really doing what you're excited about and what you're passionate about. And when you start doing that, and you start being that version of you, that's what changes the planet. That's what changes everything. When you're being the most unapologetic version of you and you're doing what you love, that will add value naturally to people and will help us to bring in this new earth even more.
Oh, beautifully put. Thank you, Aaron. That's absolutely brilliant. No, really, because Melissa asked here, you know, she doesn't know what she's supposed to do towards the new earth, but knows she's got something to do. Melissa, just follow, as Aaron said, follow what excites you, what you're interested in, what you like, what you enjoy, and let that light the way for you. Yeah, that's all I've ever done. Yeah. Yeah,
like the beautiful art behind you. When you're making that art, you're not thinking about the next thing you got to do. You're like, can I just get this over with already? You're enjoying it.
I'm loving it. Yes, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I just get paints out and I just let the Pleiadians tell me what to do, which is fine. But, you know, so I think there is, and I love the other thing that you said, you can grow into the best version you've got of yourself. So what is your best vision of yourself right now? And what is the best vision you've got for the new earth that you want to create? And these are the things. What do you say to that, Aaron?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that is a great question. I think for me, the new version of me moving into the new earth is, I'm right now stepping into like a new aspect of myself. And I think that part of the fear that we're talking about is, I've been doing that in my own life, because I've been realizing that even though I want to do live events, which is something I'm doing, I did my first live event here in the United States in May. And we talked about that actually, because I had a reading from you months ago, and we were talking about like the live events and stuff. And there's be a big shift for me in May, June, and that's when I'm doing a whole bunch of live events. But anyways, I think for a long time I've put that off, because it's going to require a new aspect of me to like jump into the unknown of doing like bigger live events with hundreds of people and stuff like that. So for me, there's a more embodied leadership version of me that's coming in right now, where I want to create, and I want to be part of create a movement of people that want to shift their consciousness. And one of the things and ways that I think we're going to do that on the new earth is, you were talking about it earlier, about the collective consciousness and group meditation and group intention. That's something I'm a big believer in. So when I do these events, because I've done a couple of them before, we do these group meditations where we all put our intention on certain outcomes. And when we do that, it has a very powerful effect, not only in our own lives, but it has a powerful effect on the collective consciousness. And whereas there's many people, I think, in society or the government, whatever we call it, that knows that when people's energy is scattered, they're much easier to control, they're much less powerful. But when we come together with group intention, it changes the collective consciousness of the planet. And we did this first off back in May of 2020. After everything was going down, we did this group meditation, Unity World Meditation. People from all over the world were doing it. But I did it on my YouTube channel, and we had 12,000 people live at one moment. 12,000 people doing this meditation. It was an hour-long meditation. The next day, and it wasn't just me, by the way, there were other YouTubers doing this, other people, but the next 2 or 3 days on the Schumann resonance, which is the frequency of the planet, it was bright white all the way through. It was like there was new light brought onto the planet, that it was like unbelievable. But I think that the way we are going to collectively shift the planet is through us doing our own individual work, but also us coming together with group intention. So at these live events that I want to do, I want to bring in, and even virtually, I'll be doing virtual ones as well, because it can reach more people. But we do these group meditations, and there's an energy to it that's just so powerful. And I think that it creates a ripple effect in the collective consciousness. So what you're asking about the new earth, I think it's many of us coming together with a unified intention, and it's us making the choice to shift into who we came here to be, and to really embody that aspects of ourselves, and let go of the threads of the past story, of the past and all of that, so that we can be this new version of ourselves, of who we came here to be. So I envision us all doing it together. And I think it's why we came here, whether we remember it or not. But it's something I'm excited to do, is these group live meditations, whether it's virtual or in person. And I think it's going to be very magnificent. The more of us that join together, the more powerful it is. And that's what they've shown with the Maharishi effect. 5,000 people meditating on one outcome of peace and love on planet can decrease violent crimes by 70% or more. That's incredible. So like you said earlier, 10% of us start doing this, it'll change the whole dynamics of our collective consciousness.
Everything.
Yeah.
And as you say, we're more powerful than we realize we are.
Yes, absolutely.
I just admire the way you keep growing into more of who you are. Yes, you're ready to keep growing. And that's a real inspiration. Yeah, we need more Aarons in the world. Yeah, more of your energy that really, you've got this, not a clone of you, but the energy of the willingness that you have and the dedication. I notice a dedication and a devotion that you have that is also a part of your practice, is it not?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. I think that a lot of people that are listening to you can know that, like, I had none of this energy back in like 2016. It was something that I activated within myself by making the choice. And all of you, I think the planet needs you to come in and to embody this version of you, because what I've done is just embody my most authentic self. And I'm still learning. I'm not perfect by any means, and there's definitely different layers I'm going through. But as you all start doing this, you will start recognizing that your reality shifts very quickly. So you being the most authentic version of you is going to change the planet as well.
Yes.
So just know that.
Yes. Absolutely. And you may have to face a few demons on the way. You may have to slay a few dragons. Yes.
Yeah.
Lately I've had to, beat the shit out of some of my fears coming up. Yeah.
What is one of those fears? What is one of those fears, Bracha?
Oh, I've got so many of them. Aaron, where to start? Oh gosh, what are my fears? Fears that people won't love me anymore. That's a big one.
You're so loved, though, Bracha. Like, you are so loved. Like, everyone, like when I showed your videos to other people, everyone just loves you. You know what I mean? They just love your energy. And I know we were talking earlier on my channel about some of the stuff that you have on your channel when it comes to the Pleiadian channelings and stuff. And sometimes there's a part of you that's afraid to share that, but the vulnerability that you have to share it, I think, is what inspires other people and gives them permission to tap into that aspect of them.
Thank you. Well, you've done the same. You did that with your video that got over 800,000 views when you stepped out.
And that was the video, Bracha, I was the most afraid to put out, was a video on 3 things all star seeds need to know for 2019. I made this video in 2018, I think. And I was so afraid to put that video out, but I said, you know what? I just feel like I should do it. I put it out, the video took off, and I was like, it takes courage. And for many of you listening to this, it might take courage for you to like be this most embodied version of you. But the Aquarian age that Brock has been talking about, that I've been talking about, it's about really unapologetically owning your weird, owning owning that energy. And as we do it, we give more and more permission to other people to do it too. So it becomes contagious, in a good way.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. They're all saying they love me in the chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. They love you too, Aaron. You're extremely loved and popular.
Thank you.
And I think the people pleasing thing is a difficult one to really let go of forever and a day, because when you're a kid, you've got to somehow, your survival depends upon what these big people are going to do to you. But wow. So if there were, I'm going to ask for your 3 ideas that you have that may come to you even as we are speaking, or that you are getting now, even if you just tune into the people who are here with us right now.
Yes.
What are the intuitive hits that you're getting that you would just like to share? And it can be anything at all.
Oh, I love that. Okay. You guys ready? Here's the first one. The first one is that you are enough the way that you are. And one of the biggest limiting beliefs I think we all have and we all come out of childhood of is we believe there's something wrong with us. There's shame. There's something wrong with me. And what we then do is we do everything we can to not let people find out the truth. And we believe the truth is that we're not good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to people please. I'm going to make everyone else feel a certain way about me so that nobody finds out that I'm actually feel like I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough. But one of the things that I had to become aware of is I had to become aware that that was the shame. Shame does not want to be seen. And one of the things you can begin to do is to have vulnerability. The word vulnerability literally means the ability to go into the wound. And when you're willing to show your wounds and you're willing to be yourself, you release the shame, you will then naturally start to feel worthy. And every one of you here is worthy for simply being you. If you think about everything in our reality as well, everything in our reality has a purpose. You look at the trees, you look at the water, you look at the seasons we have and how everything perfectly mixes together. Everything has a specific purpose and everything works perfectly together. The universe, in its infinite creation, has created you, and you are a part of the universe as well, with a specific purpose. And everything is worthy for just being itself. Everything is worthy for being itself, and everything has a purpose. Now, if that's true, then that means it's the same thing for you. You have value for just being you. You have a purpose, and your purpose is for you to be the most authentic version of you. But by you realizing that, that will allow you to really embody this new aspect of you that we've been talking about this whole time. So you're worthy. That's the first one, is realizing your own sense of worthiness and giving yourself permission to be it by knowing that you're worthy simply because you exist. You're not worthy if you make your friends happy, if you make your family happy. You're not worthy if you take the trash out. You're not worthy if you're making YouTube videos or anything. You're worthy simply because you exist. So that's the first one. The second one, we're going to go a little bit deeper into the vulnerability. And this is something that the more I've looked at my own life and I've seen that a lot of the aspects of my own life that's affected me, the limiting beliefs and the negative self-image or whatever it is, it's come from childhood patterns of things that happen in childhood. And that trickles on into our life until we become aware of it. So that's maybe where the people pleasing started and stuff like that from childhood. The next thing that I want to share with you though, is that it's not your fault. If your parents divorced when you're a kid, it's not your fault. It's not because you weren't worthy. It's not because you're not good enough. If there's certain energies or maybe if you had an emotionally unavailable parent, it's not your fault. It's not because you weren't good enough. If you had a parent that physically abandoned you, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Realize that growing up, your parents had their stuff to deal with, family members had their stuff to deal with, and it was maybe something that happened, whatever happened, but it is not your fault that it happened. And by realizing it's not your fault, you start to take your power back and you stop holding that shame and the guilt. So realize that is something that's changed my life, is realizing that, like, a parent's emotional unavailability growing up was not my fault. My parents divorcing was not my fault. Realizing that has been key to me really breaking free to a new aspect of myself and to really healing the inner child wounding that I felt and that I've had. So that's really helped free me. Now, the last thing I want to share, the third thing, is to just simply start. That's it. Whatever your passions are, start doing it. Don't start once you have it all figured out, once you have the right camera equipment, once you know how to edit, once you have all the paint brushes and the designer canvases or whatever it is, whatever your passion is, just start, because you get more feedback in reality when you start. When you start, the universe starts to conform to the energy you're putting out. And by you starting now, that will change your reality more than anything else. I started making videos in 2017 and it transformed my life. Now, in this next month, March, I'm going to start doing virtual live events and then live events in May of this year. It will change my life. I know it because I'm starting. I don't need to have it all figured out, imperfect action will lead to a new reality and a new result in your life.
Awesome. Wow. Aaron, thank you. And I'm just going to second that. My latest moon videos, I'll be vulnerable here. I decided I'm going to put out these 4 videos. I don't know what on earth I'm going to do. And I've advertised them, and I just went for it, and I'm just creating it as I go along. Guys, I'm just doing it. And that's exactly what you said. And you are the example of that as well, Aaron. Thank you.
Bracha.
Awesome. Just do it. You're never going to be 100% ready in your head. Ever.
Right. Yes. Yes.
It's
and
never.
I want to say as well, thank you so much, Bracha, for having me on. I love your energy and just who you are and how you just are so boldly yourself, and just you have such a soft, sweet energy that is so refreshing. And yeah, I look forward to doing these again. After doing these, it excites me to do these. So
thank you so much, Aaron. And just for you to know, I don't know if you've been seeing in the chat, so many people have been new to you today, and they've said, they're thrilled to bits to have met you, and they're going to start looking at your videos. And
thank you, guys. So, I appreciate all of you guys. That makes
thank you, Aaron. You're a beautiful, special soul. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence and your thoughts and your heart today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you
so much, Bracha.
Thank you, Aaron.
Absolutely.